The ancients once taught that people of great wisdom often appear like fools because they understand that there is no need to argue to prove themselves, nor is there a need to show off to gain recognition from the world. They believe in the rhythm of cause and effect, believing that time and action will be the most eloquent explanation. Life has its own way of arranging things, and everything that comes and goes follows a silent law that we cannot force. When we let go of the need to force ourselves to please everyone, when we stop trying to explain ourselves to those who never truly listen, that is when we truly begin to live. There is no need to fight to keep anyone, because those who belong to us will stay, and those who do not belong to us will sooner or later silently walk away. Silence in such moments is not weakness, but the strength of a soul that is deeply understood. In life, everyone experiences moments when their heart is stirred up by waves. An unexpected word, an unintentional action, or an unforeseen incident can all cause our minds to waver. At those times, the common reflex of humans is to immediately react with words, actions, or by finding a way to retaliate. But it is in that very moment, if we are not mindful enough, we are very prone to saying hurtful words or doing things that make us regret later. Keeping silent when the mind is agitated is an art and also a strength. It is not about swallowing negative emotions, but pausing to give the mind time to settle, giving wisdom a space to shine light, just like when a glass of water stirred up and cloudy. If we continue to stir, the water will only get cloudier. Only when we let it sit still can the sediment settle and the water become clear again. In the Anguttara Nikaya Sutra, the Buddha taught that a wise person is like a solid island amidst a rushing current. That island cannot stop the water flow, but still stands firm, not being swept away. Keeping silent to keep the mind at peace is just like that. We cannot control everything that happens outside, but we can choose not to let them sweep us away. Some people think that remaining silent when facing injustice is cowardice, is admitting defeat. But in truth, silence at that moment is a wise strategy. When the mind is not yet at peace, all words and actions are easily dominated by temporary emotions. If we wait until our mind is stable before speaking, our words will be clearer, our actions will be more correct, and the result will be better. Keeping silent to keep the mind at peace is also a way we protect our mental health, because every time we get angry, the body releases toxic substances, causing the heart to beat faster, blood pressure to rise, and the mind to be stressed. If that is repeated over and over, health will weaken and the soul will be exhausted. Silence at that moment is like giving ourselves a break to take a deep breath, to relax the whole body, to remember that we do not necessarily have to react immediately. There is a story told that a Zen master was sitting quietly in the temple when a disciple ran in panic saying, "Master, out there someone is speaking ill of you." The Zen master just smiled, continued drinking tea, and gently replied, "If someone gives you a gift and you do not accept it, who will that gift belong to?" The disciple answered, "It belongs to the giver." The master said, "It is the same. Slander is a gift that if we do not accept, it remains with the speaker." That story reminds us that silence before things not worth accepting into the mind is keeping the mind at peace. When we keep silent to keep the mind at peace, we do not extinguish the emotion but observe it. We recognize, this is anger rising, this is sadness visiting, this is disappointment existing, and we only observe. Do not judge. Do not rush to find a way to push it away or cling to it. Simply let it pass like clouds floating across the sky. A peaceful mind is not a mind that is no longer alive, but a mind that is not swept away by waves. Waves may rise, but we still know we are standing on the shore, not drowning in the current. Keeping silent helps us have that distance enough for us not to identify ourselves with the emotion. When we do not identify, emotions will come and go while we remain there calmly. The ancients had a saying, anger is a wine that blows out the lamp of wisdom. When we lose our composure, wisdom is obscured. Keeping silent is a way to shelter that lamp so it is not extinguished by sudden gusts of wind. And when wisdom, still bright, we will find the path through every difficulty without losing ourselves. Keeping the mind at peace through silence also helps us live deeper in the present. When we do not let thoughts and emotions sweep us away, we will clearly see every breath, every sound, every color around us. We will realize that even if there is a storm out there, in this moment, we can still dwell in a peaceful corner of our own. One day, when looking back, we will be grateful for the times we chose silence instead of reacting, because in those very times, we did not ruin a relationship, did not say words that hurt others, and did not hurt our own minds. We will see that keeping silent not only keeps peace for ourselves, but also maintains the respect and goodwill of others. Keeping silent to keep the mind at peace. That is one of the simplest yet most profound secrets that the Buddha's teachings gave us. It does not demand that we leave the world, but only that we be mindful in every reaction. Every time we choose silence, we are sowing a seed of peace, and that seed, over time, will sprout into a steadfast soul, leisurely amidst a life of many fluctuations. There are times in life when we will encounter words that do not bring light, but only sow more darkness. Those words sometimes do not necessarily carry bad intentions, but they are not born from understanding, but from ignorance, from unhealed emotions, from tightly closed prejudices. There are conversations that on the surface seem to be finding the truth, but in reality are only to find a victory. People do not want to listen. They only want to protect their ego. The wise person realizes that when someone's heart is not truly open, when their mind is full of anger, suspicion, or stubbornness, then every explanation, no matter how skillful, will be like wine passing through a tightly shut door. Silence in those moments is not a surrender, and certainly not a sign of weakness. It is a choice full of wisdom, because silence is the shield protecting one's mind from the waves of other people's emotions. A sentence spoken can become a bridge, but can also become a knife. And when we know that the bridge cannot be built at this time, it is best to let the river of emotions settle down before trying to connect the rhythm. Just like a clear lake, only when the wind stirs it does it reflect the blue sky, and completely the human mind is the same. When we get caught up in arguments, we are letting the wind ripple the water's surface. The transparency of wisdom will blur, and it will be hard for us to clearly see the nature of the problem. Silence is for the mind to settle, for wisdom to have space to shine, and for compassion to have a chance to sprout. The Buddha once taught that if words do not bring benefit, it is better to keep silent. This is not only advice on behavior, but also a method of practice. When silent, we learn how to observe, learn how to understand ourselves before wanting to understand others. We are no longer urged by impulsive reactions, but begin to know how to act from clear awareness. Some ask, but if I stay silent, people will think I'm wrong. What then? In truth, people who need to think you are wrong will still think you are wrong no matter what you say, because their thoughts are not determined by the truth, but by what they want to believe. The wise do not waste energy trying to control the uncontrollable. They know that time and action will answer, instead of words of justification. A peaceful soul does not need to raise its voice to prove anything. When we learn to be silent before meaningless things, we are also teaching ourselves a valuable lesson, which is knowing how to choose where to place our mind. Instead of letting our mind be dragged into endless arguments, we return to nurturing the goodness within. At that time, our energy is not consumed uselessly. Our time is not stolen by things that do not help us grow. The ancients had a saying, "One moment of patience creates 9 moments of goodness roughly. A soft answer turns away wrath." But patience here is not swallowing hatred and suppressing it, but letting go of the need to win, to be superior, to be right. When we can let go of that need, naturally we feel light. Silence at this time is no longer forced, but is a natural calmness. Just like when we no longer need to hold tight to a handful of thorns, the hand will no longer be injured. Silence is also a test for oneself, because only when the mind is solid enough can we be silent amidst the noise without feeling insecure. If we are silent, but inside our hearts waves are still rolling, full of frustration, then that is not yet the strength of silence, but only temporary suppression. True strength is when we are silent with a broad mind, without resentment, without contempt, without judgment. People who understand the value of silence will see that there are battles best not participated in, because not every battle needs a victory. There are battles that only need to preserve peace for the soul. And when we preserve that peace, we have won in a different way won over ourselves. Learn to be silent, and you will have everything. Because when silent, you have time to observe, have space to think, have the stillness to listen to intuition. You are not pushed by the noise of the world, but can hear more clearly the voice of your own heart. And that very voice is the compass for you to go through days of many fluctuations, while still being steadfast and peaceful. Listening is a gift we can give to anyone, but to give it fully we need a condition: silence. When we are silent, we truly open up to receive. Most humans, when conversing, are not exactly listening, but are waiting for their turn to speak. In their minds, counter-arguments, calculations, and comparisons are still echoing, and because of that, the other person's words only touch lightly on the ears and then float away, leaving no mark in the heart. Deep listening is a type of meditation. We listen not only with ears, but with our entire presence. When someone talks about their pain, we do not rush to give advice. Do not try to interrupt with phrases like "I understand" or "try your best." We just remain silent, so they know they are being empathized with. Because sometimes what a person needs most is not advice, but a heart wide enough to contain them. In the Dhammapada Sutra, the Buddha once taught, if someone speaks evil words, keep the mind calm like a still lake. Deep listening is just like that, letting one's mind be still to receive fully, not reacting immediately, not judging hastily. When we truly listen, We see the fear, the insecurity, and even the dreams hidden deep within the words of others. There are relationships that break not because of a lack of love, but because of a lack of listening. There are children who become distant from parents not because they stopped loving, but because they could not find anyone willing to truly sit and listen to them speak without judging. Silence to listen deeply can heal wounds that seem impossible to heal. It is like watering a withering tree. Life will slowly revive. When we listen deeply, we are also learning about ourselves. We realize that very often our anger comes from the fact that we haven't heard the whole story or listened with ears of prejudice. A person who practices deep listening will be less dragged by emotions because they learn to see matters more completely. Deep listening is not an empty silence, but a silence full of life. It contains care, genuine curiosity about the other person's world, and a silent vow, I am here to hear you, to understand you. Once we can give that gift, we will see that the walls of separation will gradually dissolve and true connection will blossom. Silence to listen deeply also helps us live slower. Amidst an era where everyone wants to speak, everyone wants to be noticed, choosing to sit quietly and hear a person's whole story is a rare act of kindness, and that very kindness will become a good seed sown in the person's heart, then sprout into gratitude, trust, and sometimes even the transformation of compassion, not born from haste, but from a heart that knows how to settle down to understand. There are times when words can become a barrier fence, but silence opens a door. When we are silent, we create a space to look at others with eyes of empathy, instead of just looking through the lens of judgment. There are situations where if we rush to react, we only see the faults of others. But when we silently stop to observe, we can see behind the fault is a pain that hasn't been healed. A person who gets angry easily is often a person who has suffered many hurts. A person who often criticizes might be someone who was once abandoned. When we understand the source of the behavior, compassion will naturally appear and our attitude will change. The Buddha once taught, "Be like the earth. Even if people throw down so much filth, the earth still receives, still nourishes, and then turns them into flowers and fruits." Silence and compassion is like the earth, not reacting instantly to negativity, but quietly transforming it inside. It is not that we accept the bad, but we choose not to let our minds be sold by hatred. There is a story about a monk. One day someone came to the temple and cursed the monk with all sorts of things. The monk did not say a word, just smiled and listened until the other person got tired and left. The student asked, "Why didn't you say anything to defend yourself?" The monk replied, "If someone brings you a bundle of burning firewood, if you accept it, your hands will burn, but if you do not accept, the firewood will fall to the ground and burn out by itself." Compassion here is the silence of not seeking revenge, because the monk knew the other person was burning and suffering, and answering with anger would only make the fire flare up. Silence to nurture compassion does not mean we accept every unreasonable thing. It means we pause to feel with our heart before acting. When compassion leads the way, our words will be gentler and our actions will be less hurtful. We will know when we need to speak and when we should be quiet. And when speaking, we speak from a place no longer holding resentment. In daily life, we are easily swept into immediate reactions. A criticism immediately pulls along an excuse. A wrong action immediately makes us want to punish. But if we are silent for a moment, observe a bit, ask ourselves what this person needs most right now, the answer is usually not to be judged, but to be understood. And when we begin to understand, compassion starts to sprout. Just like a gardener, if he only sees weeds and pulls them out continuously, the land will be bare, but it is not necessarily fertile. A wise gardener will improve the soil, water, and fertilize so that weeds gradually disappear as the good plants grow up. Silence to nurture compassion is the same, not only eliminating negative reactions, but also nurturing healthy thoughts and emotions inside. There are times when silence and compassion is also a protection for both sides. If we speak when the mind is full of anger, we will sow more seeds of suffering for ourselves and for others. But if we stay silent and wait for our hearts to soften, we can speak from a peaceful place, and those words will have the ability to heal instead of causing harm. A compassionate heart does not always need words to express itself. Sometimes our quiet presence, our warm eyes, or gentle nod is enough for others to feel comforted. True compassion does not show off, does not need to be recorded, but is like morning dew silently falling, nurturing life without demanding repayment. Silence to nurture compassion also helps us not to be drained of energy by things that cannot be changed immediately. Instead of trying to force others to become what we want, we learn to accept them in the present, while holding a belief that with time and kind treatment, they can change. Compassion is not indulgence, but patience with each person's growth process. The day we know how to be silent to nurture compassion, we will feel our hearts widen and become lighter. We will no longer see anyone as an enemy, but only see them as companions. Even if sometimes they go the wrong way, we will no longer wish for retaliation, but wish for them to soon find their own light. And when we nurture a heart like that, we will realize that silence is not an empty space, but fertile soil for the seeds of love to grow. Each person's energy is not infinite, like an oil lamp. If we burn it too fast, the light will go out early. In life, we often consume energy not by heavy work, but by negative emotions and meaningless conversations. There are times when just a short argument makes us more tired than a whole day of labor. That is because every word, every reaction consumes a part of our precious energy. Silence is a way to preserve that energy source. When we choose silence before unnecessary things, we are avoiding wasting strength on things that bring no value. Not everything is worth answering. Not every word needs a response. There are words of teasing, criticism, provocation. If we just rush to respond, it is no different than pouring oil on fire. The more the fire burns, the more our energy wears out, and the only thing left is fatigue. The Buddha once taught that like a torch burning in the wind, it cannot burn for long. A person who lets their mind be swept along by arguments is the same. Keeping silent is shielding one's lamp from those gusts of wind. It is not that we do not know or do not hear, but we know that responding at this time brings no benefit, only causing us to lose stability and diligence. There is a folk tale that a traveler was thrown stones at by another. This person picked up a stone intending to throw it back, but then put it down and continued walking. When asked why he didn't retaliate, he said, "I still have a long way to go. Carrying hatred only makes the burden heavier. Silence is the same. It is putting down burdens not worth carrying, so that energy can be used for more meaningful things. In modern life, mental energy is even more precious than physical energy. A person can work for many hours and still be happy if their mind is at peace, but just a few minutes of stress or arguing is enough to make them exhausted. Silence is a break for the mind, just like we recharge a battery after hours of activity. Every time we are silent, we give our mind time to recover, to recharge clarity and peace. Conserving energy also means knowing how to choose where to invest emotions. If we just react to everything, we will fall into a state of emotional burnout, losing interest, losing motivation, and losing the ability to see things with positive eyes. A person who knows how to keep silent will dedicate their energy to relationships worth cherishing, to meaningful deeds, and to dreams that need cultivating. A beautiful metaphor is the image of a river. River water does not fight against the rocks in its path. It just silently finds a way around, continuing towards the big sea. If the river water keeps trying to smash into the rocks, it will break into foam, lose strength, and never reach the sea. Life is the same. Sometimes the wisest way to preserve energy is to be silent and find another direction instead of trying to prove something to the stones on the road. Silence to preserve energy is also a lesson in letting go. Letting go of the need to always be right, the need to be recognized, or the need to answer every challenge. When we can let go, the mind will be light, and energy will no longer be consumed uselessly. This not only helps us be healthier mentally, but also helps us be clearer in every decision. People who understand the power of silence will not rush to join every story, will not try to squeeze into every debate. They carefully select where to place their minds because they know that every thought, every word is an expenditure from their energy bank. And when that energy source is preserved, they will have enough strength to do important things, to help others, and to live a life truly worth living. The day we know how to be silent to preserve energy, we will find ourselves no longer tired because of trivial things. We will react less to unworthy matters and begin to dedicate more to simple joys. At that time, life will be gentler, and our souls will always be full enough to give without fearing exhaustion. This life is inherently impermanent. Everything we have today, joy, sadness, relatives, friends, assets, health, will all change over time. Nothing exists forever, and for that very reason, the Buddha taught all conditioned things are impermanent, like dreams, illusions, bubbles, and shadows. But to truly feel impermanence, we need moments of silence. In noise, we only see the surface of things. In silence, we newly see the silent movement of everything around us. Try sitting quietly by the window early one morning. Watch the sunlight slowly spread onto the porch. You will realize that that moment will not repeat a second time. The light will change, the wind will change direction, and even we are no longer who we were a moment ago. Silence helps us clearly see that everything is flowing, and therefore every suffering will also pass. When a wave of sadness comes, we often think it will stay forever. But if we are willing to sit still, just observe without resisting, we will see it come and go like clouds passing through the sky. Understanding this, we will cling less, fear less, and our hearts will be lighter. There is a story about a young monk. When his mother passed away, the monk was so grief-stricken he could not chant sutras. The abbot led the monk to the river bank and said, "Sit still and look at the water flow. The monk sat. At first, he saw only flowing water, but sitting for a long time, the monk realized that each drop of water never returns, and everything flows away like that. The teacher said, "You hurt because you want to keep your mother, but impermanence does not allow it. Let the love remain in your heart, but let go of the hand that is clinging." When you understand impermanence, you will know how to cherish every remaining moment with those you love. Silence to understand impermanence is also a way to help us live deeper with the present. Knowing that today will not return, we will say words of love more, forgive faster, and enjoy every moment fully. We will not postpone happiness until tomorrow, because we know that tomorrow is not certain to arrive as we hope. Those who understand impermanence will also be less attached to praise and blame, because praise or blame, love or hate, success or failure are all just waves on the surface of the sea. Waves rise and then fall, but the sea remains there. Our minds are the same. If we keep the stillness underneath, we will not be swept along by surface changes. Silence to understand impermanence is also a practice method helping us let go of suffering. When we lose something, instead of trying to hold on or blaming, we sit quietly observing the truth that nothing lasts long. When accepting this, we will no longer be too in pain when having to say goodbye, because we understand that everything coming and going is part of the natural flow. In life, take time to observe small things are changing around us. The green leaf will turn yellow, the flower blooms and then fades. The child from yesterday has grown a little more. These changes teach us that we are also changing every day. And so if we want to live happily, we need to live fully in every breath, every glance, every hand holding. The day we know how to be silent to understand impermanence, we will no longer live in regret or worrying too much about the future. We will be grateful for the present, cherish what we have, and know how to let go of what has passed. At that time, we will see that impermanence is no longer a scary thing, but a gentle reminder to love right now, because this moment will never return. And when understanding impermanence, we will live a life truly free. Free from the fear of loss, free from the obsession of having to keep something forever, and free to open your heart to new things. In the busy life, we are often swept into the noise of the world to the point of forgetting the voice inside us. Every day, hundreds of sounds and pieces of information rush in. Words others say, news, social media, work, pressure, all like continuous waves crashing onto the shore, making our minds never still. In those noises, the most precious thing is left forgotten. That is the whispering voice of oneself, the call from the heart and deep wisdom inside. Silence to listen to oneself is a journey of returning. When we stop, do not speak, do not rush to react. We can newly feel what we truly want, need, and where we are going. That is not loneliness, but a safe space for us to converse with ourselves like with a soulmate. Some say I never hear the voice inside because my head is always noisy, and truth, that voice is always there, but it is as light as the sound of a falling leaf, like flowing water. To hear it, we need to be quiet. Just like a fisherman wanting to see the bottom of the water must wait for the lake surface to stop rippling. The Buddha taught that all answers lie within each person's mind, but that mind needs to be illuminated by mindfulness and stillness. When silent, we began to hear the sound of the breath, the beat of the heart, and even the emotions whispering inside. We realize whether we are tired or healthy, happy or sad, peaceful or insecure. From there we know how to take care of ourselves properly instead of just running after what the outside imposes. There is a story told about a traveler. He walked forever, passing through strange lands, asking everyone for the right direction to find treasure. After many years, he was exhausted and stopped by a stream. In the silence of the afternoon, he suddenly heard the sound of trickling water and realized that the treasure he had been searching for so long was the peace in that moment. He didn't need to go anywhere far anymore because what he wanted had been lying within himself all along. When we are silent to listen to ourselves, we will realize many things that we never noticed before. We will see that we have dreams left forgotten, pains unhealed, and simple joys always waiting for us to touch. Listening to oneself is not to pamper the ego, but to understand oneself honestly, and from there live more harmoniously in daily life. Give yourself short periods to be silent. Early morning, when the sun hasn't risen, an afternoon sitting by the window, or a few minutes before going to sleep. That is when we turn off all outside noise to open the inside door. Just sit still, breathe slowly, and we will find that voice gradually becoming clearer like a friend patiently waiting for us for many years. Silence to listen to oneself also helps us make wiser decisions. Many times we are pressured to decide immediately, to choose according to the majority or according to others' words. But if we stop to listen to what our heart truly wants, we will choose the most suitable path for ourselves, even if it might be different. That silence becomes a compass helping us not get lost in the intersection of life. Just like a seafarer needs to look at the stars to orient themselves, we also need to look into the inner sky to know the direction. But stars only appear clearly when the sky is dark enough, and our mind is the same. Only when silent do we clearly see the guiding stars within ourselves. The day we know how to be silent to listen to ourselves, we will no longer be swept away by the noise of the world. We will walk slower, but more steadily. We will do less, but more profoundly. And most importantly, we will live true to ourselves, not a copy of anyone else, because ultimately, every road we take leads back to ourselves, and to reach that destination, we need to listen to that call. The call only resonates in silence. Once upon a time, in a small village by the mountainside, there was a man named An. He was famous throughout the region for his hot temper and excessive straightforwardness. Whenever anyone said something contrary to his opinion, and would immediately retort. He believed he had to speak up right away to defend himself, to let others know he was not easily looked down upon. But the more he spoke and argued, the more tired and felt in his heart. Friends gradually drifted away, and his family was often tense. One day, an incident occurred during a village meeting. Someone falsely accused him of doing something he never did. The whole hall was noisy, everyone waiting for him to react. But strangely this time, and remained silent. He sat still, eyes looking down at the ground, without a single word of justification. Those who had expected a fierce argument suddenly felt disappointed. The meeting passed. The false accusation found no evidence, and everyone gradually understood the truth that day and realized one thing. Sometimes silence is the most powerful answer. The power of silence is not something new. More than 2,000 years ago, the Buddha also taught about this. In the Anguttara Nikaya Sutra, he taught, if words do not bring benefit, do not increase love and wisdom, then it is better to keep silent like a noble one. That teaching is not just a principle of conduct, but also a method of practice, because silence at the right time is a way to keep the mind from wavering, to nurture wisdom, and to avoid sowing unwholesome seeds. In ancient times, when the Buddha was still a bodhisattva, he was born as a sage living hidden in the forest. One day, a wicked person came and falsely accused him. The sage stole the village's goods, causing the villagers to be angry and surround him with insults. But that sage did not say a word to explain. He just sat still, eyes half closed, mind at peace. A while later, the accusers saw that the villagers still hadn't left, so he accidentally revealed the loophole and was finally exposed. The villagers regretted and apologized to the sage. He just smiled. Words are like wine. The mind is like a mountain. Wine cannot move the mountain, and evil words cannot move a still mind. That story leaves a great lesson. Sometimes the truth does not need words of justification, but needs time and silence to reveal itself. The wise do not waste energy on meaningless arguments, but keep their minds like a lamp in a windless room, not letting the wind blow it out. Today, modern society needs the power of silence more than ever. We are living amidst myriad noises, noise from social media, from work, from the pressure of success, and even the noise from the ceaseless thoughts in our own minds. In that chaotic flow, silence is no longer a luxury choice, but a survival need to keep the mind at peace and the intellect bright. The Buddha once said, "He who knows when to stop speaking is one who has preserved half of wisdom. Preserving that half of wisdom, the rest will arise from stillness and observation. In stillness, we will clearly see cause and effect, see the root of suffering, and know the path leading to liberation. The world will never stop being noisy, but amidst that noise, we still have the right to choose for ourselves a quiet interval to listen, to love, to heal, and to walk mindfully. When we find that quiet interval, we will carry it everywhere in our hearts and turn any place we go into a land of peace. May all of us, wherever we are, whatever challenge we are facing, find and preserve the power of silence. May silence become the seed of wisdom, compassion, and peace, not only for ourselves, but for all sentient beings. Welcome to the Peaceful Buddhist channel. Please joyfully press subscribe to sow more good seeds together. There is a type of tiredness that does not come from the body, but from one's own heart. Throughout the journey of life, we keep picking up one thing after another and putting it into our minds. Every day that passes, we gather not only food and clothes, but also anxiety, sorrow, expectations, hurt, and regret. And just like that, the mind gradually gets heavier, but we do not know that we are the ones who have piled each stone onto our shoulders. There is a story told that a man, exhausted by life, came to a sage to ask for guidance. He was asked to wear an empty basket on his back, and with every step he took, pick up a rock and put it in. Not long after, he felt his steps slowing down, and his heart also grew heavier. And the sage pointed out clearly to him that human life is just like that. Tiredness is not from the outside, but from the things you keep picking up without knowing how to discard some. Sometimes we can let go of opportunities, fame, and even future expectations. But the hardest thing to let go of is the sadness reigning in the heart. It is there silently, without shape or shadow, but strong enough to weigh us down and make us lose our way. Only when we know how to love ourselves, know how to give the mind a space to breathe, know how to stop amidst the noisy life, only then can we truly put down the things that are no longer necessary. Sometimes the solution to a deadlock does not lie in trying more, but in stopping at the right time, not trying to fix everything, not trying to get to the bottom of every question, just sitting still and gently letting go of the thoughts that have exhausted us to see our hearts become calmer, brighter, and everything that seemed messy turns out to be no longer worth worrying about. A river cannot be clear when the source is still muddy. A person cannot be at peace when the heart is still full of impurities. Learning to let go is learning how to filter the source of the mind, not to forget, but to stop suffering, not to give up, but to continue walking with a lighter, brighter, and more compassionate mind. A person who knows how to let go is the one who has grasped true happiness in life. When clenching a fist tight, we hold nothing inside, but when knowing how to loosen, knowing how to open up, we can welcome the whole world into our hearts. Life is the same. There are times when what needs to be learned is not how to tense up to snatch and grab, but to let go, to return to oneself. The more stubborn, the deeper one sinks. The more one tries to hold, the more tired one becomes. We often fail not because we lack ability, but because we lack the courage to give up at the right time. Only when knowing how to stop, knowing how to let go of things that are no longer timely, no longer suitable for our souls, do we truly feel the relief spreading from within. At that time, we see that life still has many beautiful things silently waiting for us ahead. There are things that do not need to be kept forever in the heart. The more we drag them out, the more tired we get. The more we think over and over, the more hurt we are. Matters that have passed, if they can no longer be changed, let them be silent like water that has flowed under the bridge. Don't let an old wound silently bleed in the consciousness every day. Don't let a person who's walked out of our life still hold on to the remaining piece. There are things we have tried our best at. There are people we have cherished with all our hearts. If it still cannot be complete, then letting go is also a way to love oneself. Letting go is not giving up. Letting go is putting down the burden to continue walking without being too exhausted. There are karmic connections where the tighter we hold, the more it hurts. There are memories where the more we recall, the more heartbroken we are. Sometimes just a second of stopping, breathing really deep, and then quietly dropping all the things that do not belong to us, just like a leaf that has turned yellow. If it doesn't fall, the tree cannot sprout new buds. Life is the same. If you want peace of mind, you must learn to let go. A person who knows how to let go is not a person who runs away, but a person who is understood deeply enough to choose a gentle way of living. They do not let the small things in the day muddy their minds. They do not let others decide their mood. On their lips, there is always a very real smile, not because life is always pleasant, but because they have learned to accept things that go against their will in a gentle way. They can face difficulties without panic because there is not much fear left in their hearts. They do not expect life to be perfect. They only hope to be solid enough to go through everything peacefully. People who know how to let go live amidst 100 worries, that their hearts are not tangled. Living amidst a world full of unsatisfactory things but not swept into resentment. They do not have many things more than others, but they have something precious that not everyone has, a steadfast inner mind. Their peace does not come from life being favorable, but from the fact that they no longer want to cling to things that do not belong to them. Their every step is as light as the wind, but as solid as the earth. Because they don't need to beat anyone, they only need not to lose to themselves, and that is enough. Sometimes the greatest rest in life does not lie in putting aside how much work, but in putting aside thoughts that hurt oneself. We are not tired because we have to do much, but because we have to think much. Not in pain because of what others do, but because we ourselves embrace things that don't need embracing. The more we tense up to hold, the more we force ourselves to be resilient. The deeper the pain stabs into the heart. At some point, we will understand that no one forces us to be strong forever. No one requires us to appear fine. We are the ones who created that pressure, built an image, a burden, and then lived in it ourselves. But the Buddha taught that happiness does not come from how much one has or how far one can endure, but from knowing what is enough, knowing when to stop, knowing to return to take refuge in the mind, and when tired, think, when suffering, let go, not to escape, but to heal. A leaf branch does not need to struggle to cling to the bough, but can still be leisurely in the wind. If it is time to fall, a person is the same. No need to shoulder the whole world to be recognized, but only need to return to oneself. Take care of the inner mind, preserve inner peace. That is a kind of silent strength that anyone who has experienced it will understand is the most profound and sustainable path. So if today you are too tired, don't try to tense up anymore. Let yourself breathe. Breathe as if living for the first time. Breathe as if putting down a mountain of worries. Just sit down. Listen to your heartbeat. Listen to the Buddha's name softly chanting in your heart. Namo Amitabha Buddha. Just that much is enough for a day to start over. There are people who live their whole lives straining for fear of being looked down upon, straining for fear of making others sad, straining for fear of not being good enough, not talented enough, not strong enough. And then day by day, they are exhausted in that very effort. On the outside, they appear happy, but inside are long nights of difficulty sleeping. On the outside, they still go to work, still take care of everything, but in their hearts, they silently collapse hundreds of times without anyone knowing. That is the quietest loneliness, when even oneself no longer knows what one needs, or one is suffering, only knowing that one is too tired. But you know, the Buddha never taught us to strain like that. He never asked anyone to shoulder all the sorrow of the galaxy to prove they are strong. What the Buddha taught is, let go, and it will be light. Light not because everything in life is fine, but because one's mind no longer fights against everything. Lightness is when we understand that we don't need to control everything, don't need to be perfect. Just being fully present with the present, with oneself, is already starting to step out of suffering. Sometimes the kindest thing we can do for ourselves is not to continue enduring, but to give ourselves a quiet interval, an afternoon turning off the phone, an evening not trying to force a smile, an early morning not rushing into social media, but sitting still silently chanting Namo Amitabha Buddha. Small, but it is a door opening to returning. You don't need to hurry. No one rushes you to be fine immediately today, But don't forget that there is a path to healing. That is the path of mindfulness, of compassion, of letting go. And you can start at any time. Sometimes we don't realize we are tired because we are used to living in a world that is too noisy, where everyone is running very fast, talking a lot, doing a lot to the point there is no room for a deep breath. The tiredness does not come from unfinished work, but comes from always having to show that we are fine, we are strong, we are capable. At some point, that very shell becomes a rope tightening around our soul. Some are tired because of messy work. Some are tired because no one understands them. Some are tired because they always have to strain to be a kind person, while inside is full of cracks. But the most tiring is when we dare not let go, dare not give ourselves a quiet interval, dare not admit we are weak, dare not cry when the heart has been broken for a long time. The Buddha did not teach us to become supermen, nor did he demand that we always be resilient. He only taught that knowing to stop at the right time will naturally bring peace, because stopping is not weakness but an awakening, realizing we are tired to know to rest, realizing we are straining to know to relax, realizing we are piling up too much, but nothing is truly needed. In the Dhammapada Sutra, the Buddha once said, "There is no fire like the fire of greed, no shackle like hatred, no net like delusion, no river like desire." The things that make us suffer are not the circumstances, but our own minds refusing to let go of what should be let go, not knowing to stop at what is depleted, refusing to leave when the heart is heavy. There is a type of letting go that is not giving up, but allowing oneself to be a little lighter of an expectation, a responsibility, a fear, a regret of the past. When you know how to sit down, close your eyes, and silently chant Namo Amitabha Buddha, you have already started to let go of a part of the burden in your mind. You are yielding a part of the suffering to the Buddha, returning to the wind, the things you can no longer strain to hold. A mind that knows how to let go is a mind that knows peace. When no longer entangled in trivial things, our mind is like a lake surface ceasing to ripple. Even if the wind blows, it just glides over lightly. A person with a mind that knows how to let go will not be tormented all day by a contradictory word, will not speculate endlessly because of someone's indifferent look. They understand that time in a human life is as precious as pure gold. So instead of using it to count every hurt, compare every gain and loss, they quietly use it to do good deeds, to live kindly, to smile more, and to walk lighter. A day may shorten, but a mind that lets go widens. A person who knows to choose what to keep and what to drop is the one opening the way for themselves to go towards peace. Life does not lack things that disturb the human heart, but if our mind is quiet enough, we can hear the sound of happiness ringing from the simplest things. Letting go is not weakness, but a way to love oneself deeply. There are things not worth getting angry about. There are people not worth resenting. But if we keep hugging old sorrows in our hearts forever, we are the ones who get tired first. Letting go is when we choose to forgive, not so that someone else can be at peace, but so that our own mind stops being bound by nameless grudges. Forgiving others is sometimes liberating oneself. When the mind knows how to let go, the heart will be as light as a cloud, no longer tormented by others' mistakes, nor blaming oneself for things past. Every step becomes leisurely. Every day of living becomes worth living. Letting go is not a loss, but an exchange for a stable inner mind. a relaxed life. Letting go is also a way to heal. When we dare to put down old memories, wounds that silently throb every time night falls. It is also when the mind has a chance to breathe. No one forces us to forget, but if we keep clinging to things that cannot be changed, the one in pain is still ourselves. Letting go does not mean turning away from the past, but having enough courage not to let the past hurt the present. There are days when we just need to live peacefully for a whole morning, a quiet afternoon, and we are already more healed than yesterday. In life, no one avoids hurt, but the important thing is after the stumbles. Do we know how to lift ourselves up, wipe the tears dry, and walk on more gently, more quietly? Let go so the heart is spacious, so the remaining days can be lived fully in mindfulness and gratitude. Letting go is not resigning to fate, nor is it hindrance, but an accord full of wisdom. It is when the mind understands that what comes is caused by affinity karma. What leaves is an ending. There are things where the more we keep, the more hurt we get. There are people where the more we cling, the further they go. When seeing through the impermanent transformation of life, we will no longer be too stubborn to fight for things that don't belong to us. Letting go is when the heart is peaceful enough not to blame. It is when the heart is wide enough to be grateful even for things that didn't go as wished. It is when we understand that not everything we want is the best thing, and not every loss is a misfortune. Sometimes things we cannot keep are the very things that need to leave so our minds have room for new light to enter. Everything has an affinity. If there is a beginning, there must be an ending. Everything in life comes and goes according to a wondrous law of cause and effect. A person who knows how to let go is someone walking with the wind of heaven and earth, not forcing, not resisting, but leisurely amidst fluctuations. In that leisureliness, there is a calmness that people forever search for. There are things we think are very important, but then passing through the years, looking back, we see it was just a passing breeze. Life is inherently short. There are so many things worth living for, worth loving. Why do we keep hugging trivial things, stories of gossip and competition, thoughtless words or cold looks? Are they really worth keeping in the heart to cause suffering? Letting go of meaningless things is tidying up one's mind like a cluttered room. If we don't clear out old items, how can we place more good things? The mind is the same. If we keep holding on to useless worries, nameless torments, old reproaches, where is the room for light to squeeze in? In truth, there is nothing in life that cannot be let go of. It is just whether we are willing to see through and allow ourselves to shake it off or not. Once let go, you will feel incredibly light enough to feel born again, with a brighter mind, clearer eyes, and a warmer heart. Because when we let go, we have hands to welcome new things. When no longer holding tight to old things, good things can visit and reside. When the mind is no longer entangled by meaningless things, we can listen to the call from within. That is the call of peace to the soul that knows to stop amidst the storm to return to itself. Because life is inherently not a race to win or lose, but a journey for us to learn how to live deeply, live true to ourselves. Letting go is not giving up in despair. Letting go is the smartest move of someone who has understood cause and effect. They know what is worth keeping, what should be let drift away. They no longer try to keep a thing that makes them suffer, nor try to hold on to a person who no longer has a good affinity. They live in the present, know enough with what they have, and are relaxed about things that haven't come. Every day, let's practice a little letting go. Let go of expectations of others to lighten the heart. Let go of words that don't need to be spoken to calm the mind. Let go of the need to be praised, to be understood, so that the inner self becomes more solid. And every time we let go like that is a time we step closer at true peace, not coming from external circumstances, but from our own pure inner mind. If the road you are walking has become bumpy, don't be afraid to stop and choose another direction. Not every path leads to joy, nor is everyone we meet worth keeping. Sometimes just because of a wrong person, your mind becomes messy. Sometimes just because of an unlucky event, your heart remains entangled. But in truth, the knot in the mind sometimes only needs you to gently let go of one hand to untie itself. Is there anyone or anything in the world strong enough to bind a person who is determined to live gently? Because that person understands that everything is a convergence of affinities, and if affinities converge, there will be a day they dissolve. The important thing is not how much we can hold, but being able to smile when putting it down. When understanding that, you will no longer force yourself to continue a path that hurts you. You will know to choose another turn where the light of compassion and wisdom is waiting for you ahead. Life inherently contains too many things that make us tired. There are burdens from work, feelings from intimate relationships, and anxieties that cannot be named. Amidst those myriad things to shoulder, sometimes what we need is not to try a little more, but to learn how to gently let go. Only when letting go of things that make the mind uneasy can we hear our own deep breathing rhythm. Can we feel peace gently returning? Letting go is not abandoning everything, but knowing what to keep that is worthy, and letting go of things that are no longer suitable. When you learn how to let go, you will see happiness is not far away. Sometimes it is just a minute of peace in the mind, a sigh breathed out in relief, a smile not forced, and when the mind is calm, good and wholesome things will silently find their way like the dawn, always returning after a long night. And sometimes letting go doesn't need to be anything too grand. It is just letting go of a blame intended to be uttered in anger. Letting go of an old memory that has nothing left to keep. Letting go of a relationship that no longer brings goodness to each other. Letting go of even the attempt to please everyone. To learn how to return to yourself, you can start from very small things, stopping comparing gains and losses. It is learning to smile when someone accidentally hurts you. It is accepting that no one is obliged to be as I expect. It is knowing that there are things not belonging to me. The more I pull, the more it hurts. When you can let go of such things, you will feel your mind like a kite with its string cut, not falling down, but flying up lightly, freely. And in that very moment, you will understand why people who know how to let go often smile, because they have chosen for themselves a light-burdened path, a path of serenity. They no longer strain, no longer cling, nor blame, just living with gratitude and acceptance. Are there days you are tired, not because of work, sad not because anyone hurt you, but simply because too many nameless things are suppressed in your heart? At that time, the most needed thing is not to try to suppress, but to know to settle down, to allow yourself to breathe. Allow yourself to be sad in a kind way. Sadness, if embraced like a friend, will no longer be a tormenting wound. It is just a state passing through, and will leave when you are willing to listen to yourself. Don't force yourself to always be strong. If tired, lean on a moment of stillness. If the heart feels heavy, write it out. Write to understand yourself. Write to drop down things not needed to carry along. Even if no one listens, you can still say it all to the page, to the high sky, to the Buddha in your heart. Just dare to face it and let go. You will feel a load lighter, a bit more peaceful, and quiet enough to continue moving forward. There are pains that do not come from what happened, but come from us constantly looking for who is responsible. The more we look for the culprit, the messier the mind. The more we want someone to apologize, the more hurt the heart. Letting go does not mean agreeing with wrongs, but not letting one's mind get stuck in old stories forever. Accepting that past matters cannot be changed. Understanding that blaming does not lighten the burden, only makes the heart more resentful. Forgiveness is not because someone deserves it, but because our mind needs peace. When stopping waiting for an apology, we give ourselves a chance to move on, unbound, unblaming, expecting nothing from the outside anymore. There are pressures not from circumstances, but from the way we store too many unnecessary things in the mind. The longer we live amidst the chaos of life, the easier it is to accumulate nameless sorrows in the heart. Our mind is also like a room. If not swept every day, dust of defilements will gradually stick thickly, preventing the light of peace from entering. Letting go of pressure is not escaping reality, but learning to live simpler, lighter, knowing to choose important things to keep, knowing what to drop for the heart to be leisurely. When the mind strains less, life is also less heavy. Letting go of external shells. Many people live their whole lives for the word phase reputation, afraid of offending this person, afraid of losing their image with that person. But then they themselves are the most miserable because they never dare to live true to their hearts. There are very forced smiles, very tired words that people still have to say just because they don't want to lose face. Face, after all, is just a layer of paint. When present, people admire. When lost, who remembers? A wise person is not one who always keeps face at all costs, but one who knows to let go at the right time to live peacefully, true to themselves. Then there are things we need to let go of from within, like an inferiority complex. When we feel inferior, every opportunity that comes is refused by us. When we feel inferior, even if others support us, we think we don't deserve it. Inferiority is like an invisible wall imprisoning us in a cage we built ourselves. Each person born is a special seed. No one is like another. Our job is not to compare, but to live most fully with our own land and light. And finally, let go of the habit of complaining. Every life path has ups and downs. Everyone encounters unsatisfactory things, but if only knowing to complain without acting, not only do we not move forward, but we are also pulled back by our own size. A person living positively is not one who meets no adversity, but one who knows to smile amidst that adversity. A person who knows how to let go of sorrow and return to a clear mind will naturally see complications lighting. Problems become simple. Letting go is not losing. Letting go is to move on, for the heart to be leisurely and the head held high. Stepping forward on the remaining road with a graceful heart and a soul that has learned how to self-heal. The more we mature, the more we realize one of the quietest burdens in life is the ego. Initially, we think it is strength helping us keep our stance, affirming value, but later we see it resembles a stone in the palm of the hand, seemingly small, but holding it forever makes one tired. Squeezing tight hurts, yet throwing it away feels reluctant. The ego, if nurtured by wisdom, will become inner strength, helping us live uprightly, knowing to protect what is right. But if dominated by greed and hatred, competition, it will turn into a high wall separating us from the world. How many people, because they could not let go of the ego, lost precious relationships, lost great lessons? There are apologies unspoken just because of the word pride. There are things needing listening that are rejected just because of thinking oneself always right. In truth, in this life, winning an argument is not always winning at life. Being right in reason is not always right in heart. Sometimes taking a step back is advancing further. Sometimes accepting a little loss gains greater blessings. When seeing yourself constantly having to argue to prove something, stop a bit, not to lose, but to listen, not to be silent in resignation, but to open the heart to new perspectives. A wise person is not one who wins every argument, but one who knows when to hold firm, when to let go. Letting go of the ego is not lowering self-worth, but opening space for oneself to learn, to understand, to grow from within. A person who can take a step back when needed is the one moving forward most steadily, and then when knowing to live lighter with oneself, reducing competition, we will feel a strange serenity in our hearts. Relationships also become warmer, because when we no longer clutch the ego, that is also when we open our arms to receive more love. Sometimes what makes us tired is not the bumpy roads, but the very mind that keeps clinging to things that have passed. We failed once, we tried, but still didn't succeed. And then we keep holding on to those things as if that is our whole life. But who says that when a door closes, we must stand forever in front of it crying? Buddha taught letting go is not defeat, but awakening. It is understanding that what is no longer suitable should be let pass quietly. Karmic ties that have ended should not be forced. Roads once walked, if leading nowhere, should involve stopping. Failure does not hurt you, but keeping old failures in the heart, embracing old stories, imprisoning yourself in what if and should have is what makes you unable to move on. You don't need to win everything. You only need to let go of what should be let go and keep peace in the mind. There are things where the more you shoulder, the more it hurts, the more you pull, the more it tears. Only when you are willing to sit down, open your heart and breathe deeply, will you hear the gentle voice inside. It is time. Let yourself be at peace. Let the past sleep, and let new things enter. And at that time, you will see that letting go is not losing, but opening a space for happiness to visit. Life does not stand still waiting for anyone. It does not slow down just because you are sad, nor stop to wait for you to sort out the mess in your heart. Every day still flows, time still quietly passes, and if you don't agree to move on, you will be left behind. Not by others, but by your own overly tired soul. So if seeing yourself carrying too much pain, seeing shoulders heavy with things that cannot be changed, please be brave to let go. Don't be afraid to start over. Don't think it's too late. Every morning is a miracle. Every breath remaining is an opportunity to change, and starting from the beginning doesn't mean you return to zero, but you start with a heart that has experienced, a soul that clearly understands what it needs and doesn't need anymore. Letting go doesn't make you weak. On the contrary, letting go at the right time is a form of wisdom, daring to untie the ropes yourself. Sitting down amidst so many disturbances, yet still able to smile and say, well, let everything pass. As for me, I will continue on my bright path, and who knows, right from the place you thought was the end, a more peaceful beginning than ever opens up. Life is inherently fragile, and human hearts are easily hurt. We have gone through so many upheavals, have carried in our hearts so many things unable to be spoken, have tried to strain to the point of thinking we are a mountain unable to collapse. But then there are times when just a light breeze makes us stagger. There are days when just a thoughtless look from someone is enough to make our heart ache. We newly understand true strength does not lie in straining to endure, but lies in the ability to know to stop, to sit still, to know to embrace oneself and soothe. There, it's okay to let go, because in truth, what exhausts us is not life's challenges, but the things we try to keep in our hearts too long. If you have ever been tired from shouldering a heavy past, if you have ever lived in fear of the future to the point of losing the present, if you have ever been unable to smile because the heart is full of entanglements, then now please try once to put it down. Don't cling to what has passed. Don't clutch tight things not belonging to you. Don't continue making yourself suffer for things out of reach. Let the heart be light. Take a deep breath. Forgive yourself for having been weak, and choose to live differently starting today. Because life only happens here and now. Let go of the past and enjoy the present. Welcome to the Peaceful Buddhist channel. Please joyfully press subscribe to sow more good seeds together. We live in an era where materialism reigns. Fame is flaunted, beauty is overwhelming, money runs ahead of spirituality, and swallows every moment of silence in life. In a world full of such temptations, for a human to keep mindfulness is extremely rare. Everyone wants to have more, live better than others, be admired, be hailed. But how many stop to ask, are we truly happy? We are born, grow up, hustle, dream, struggle, fight, love, resent, then one day depart in silence. And what remains of a human life is ultimately just a handful of ashes or a grave overgrown with wild grass. Yet in the days of living, we once considered fame as everything, used gain and loss as the standard for happiness, used winning and losing to measure each other's hearts, until a moment when this body is put down, everything becomes meaningless. We are often swept away without knowing we are being swept, deluded without knowing we are deluded, running after frivolous things until exhausted do we look up and look back, sometimes having to go through a shock, a loss, a serious illness, a time standing before a loved one's altar. Do we startle to remember that this life is truly very short, so short there is no time to live slowly to understand who we are, and one day you will realize a simple yet cruel truth. Everyone returns to dust, distinguishing no rich or poor, noble or humble, intellectual or commoner. Waking up is not to be bored with life, pessimistic or give up, but to start living truly, living with mindfulness, living with awareness, living with moral principles, living with practice, even if just practicing in every breath, because at some point, All the things we are trying to keep will leave us, but the mind's karma and the good deeds we sowed will remain forever. When people understand impermanence, they will stop clutching things that inherently cannot be kept. We start looking at life with different eyes, looking at a house not as a place to prove success, but a place to shelter from rain and sun, nurture love, and keep human hearts warm. Looking at a job not as a measure of self-worth, but an opportunity to live kindly and create value. Looking at a relative not as a place for us to demand, but a precious affinity needing preservation and cherishing, because no one knows how long they will be with us. Then we will also gradually let go, not letting go of responsibility, but letting go of burdens not worth carrying, letting go of competitions, letting go of stubbornness, letting go of suffering over things that cannot be changed. We learn to live with what is present instead of forever chasing what has not arrived. Learn to thank simple things instead of demanding great things. People do not wake up because they are taught. People wake up because they have been hurt by life. People do not let go because they read a few good lines. People let go because they have suffered to the point they cannot hold anything more. Just like a glass of water, only when overflowing does it spill. Just like a heart, only when too tired does it open to another direction. A human life, if understanding the word enough, will be enough. But if forever feeling lacking, then no matter how full, it is nothing. There are people in small houses, but with wide minds. There are people in villas who still toss and turn at night due to loneliness. There are people without much money, but go anywhere gently. There are people very rich, but every step is like carrying a mountain of anxiety. So wisdom lies not in the number of years in school, but in the ability to see through the nature of life. Happiness lies not in what we have, but in the attitude we live. And spiritual practice lies not in external forms, but in the transformation in every instant of the mind. A teacher once said, "If you want to understand deeply about life, look at it from behind a handful of ashes. At that time you will see all greed and hatred become meaningless. All struggles are too small, all fame is fleeting, and what remains ultimately is simply, have we lived kindly? Have we loved anyone? What have we sown for life? Have we lived true to our hearts? Mindfulness does not mean sitting still in the mountains, ignoring worldly affairs, but amidst this noisy life, we still keep a realm of silence in the mind. Amidst the crowded market of life, still not losing self-respect. Amidst so many temptations, still clearly knowing what to stop. Amidst success, not arrogant. Amidst failure, not resentful. Mindfulness is knowing how we are living and where we are taking our lives. There are people who only when losing everything see the value of what they once had. There are people who only when close to life and death realize how precious life is. There are people who only when hearing chanting beside a coffin realize they have never lived a day meaningfully, but that is usually too late. Therefore, if today you can still hear the Dharma, still read these lines, please cherish every moment. Live mindfully. Let go of what should be let go. Light a bright lamp in your heart to illuminate your own path and those walking beside you. Someone once came to ask a master, "Master, I want to know the true meaning of human life. I have a house, a car, status, but my heart is still empty. So what must I do to see my life not meaningless?" The master just stayed silent for a moment, then took out a cup. He poured water full until it overflowed. Then he asked, "Do you see this cup is full?" The other nodded. The master said, "It is full, but cannot be used because the water spilled. Just like you, your life is full, but your heart has no room to contain the truth. You need to pour out unnecessary things. Pour out greed, pour out competition, pour out unreal dreams. Only when the heart is light can you see life deeply. We are living in an era where humans run very fast, but don't know where they are running. Everyone holds in their hearts dozens of worries, hundreds of schemes, and thousands of fragments of unfulfilled expectations. And the more held, the more tired. The more running, the more breathless, but few can stop. Not everyone has the opportunity to sit down and ask themselves, what am I living for? Not everyone dares to look in the mirror and ask, every day passing, have I truly lived as a wise human? Have I loved? Have I let go? Have I understood? We often think that living well means achieving more. But in truth, living well is knowing to stop at the right time. There are lives that are only brilliant when they know how to refuse a misguided invitation. There are souls that are only truly at peace when they say enough. And there are humans who only shine after letting go of something that has hurt them for too long. What we call happiness often lies in very simple things. A meal with all family members present. A good sleep after a day of honest work, a warm greeting in the morning, a gentle laugh over afternoon tea. But we skip it all because we keep thinking we will be happy when getting that thing, that object, and just like that, we live forever in the future, abandoning the present. Live in the present moment, because the present is the only thing we truly have. The past is memory, the future is imagination. Only the present is reality, but the present is what we live the least. We either regret what has passed or fear what hasn't come, without knowing that when a breath passes without mindfulness, it is a part of life flowing away meaninglessly. There is a story that a king asked a hermit, "When is the most important time to live mindfully? Who is the most important person? What is the most important thing?" The hermit answered, "The most important time is now. The most important person is the one in front of us. The most important thing is doing good in the present moment." Hearing this, the king clasped his hands and bowed, because he saw those three things are the core of a meaningful life. So if you are living, breathing, hearing these words right now is the most precious time. Light a lamp in your mind. No need for oil lamps. No need for electric light. Just a bit of mindfulness, a bit of understanding, a bit of letting go, a bit of love, and then you will see life as no longer a maze, but becomes a journey returning to the deep inner self. Some used to think only those who go to temples and wear brown robes are truly practicing. But if understanding Buddha's teachings correctly, practice does not lie in appearance, but in awareness, in every thought, every behavior, every living breath each day. A person living amidst ordinary life, but whose mind always knows to let go of greed and hatred, knows to keep self-respect, knows to live in mindfulness, and knows to sow good seeds. That person is practicing, and that person can create a very great transformation for their whole family. Blessings do not appear naturally. They come from every kind word, every good action, every time knowing to stop when able to do wrong, every time knowing to yield instead of compete, every time willing to lose a little, but keeping a serene mind. Blessings are not high and mighty things. blessings are when one's mind does not scream in meaningless arguments. It is when in one's house everyone can look at each other with peaceful eyes. It is when one knows to be silent at the right time. It is when one knows to say thank you and sorry. It is when one knows to look at a simple meal with gratitude. There was a man who, throughout his youth, was engrossed in pursuing his career. He said that only by having a lot of money, fame, and power would he live peacefully later. But then when he had everything, he and his wife started having trouble. Children were distant. Friends became sparse, and his body started raising alarms. One day, while lying on a sick bed, he told his close friend, "My wife only hopes for a simple meal." Having wife and children by the side, listening to the laughter of children, not needing meetings with big businessmen like in the old days anymore, that friend recounted, "At that moment I understood. It turns out ultimately everyone needs peace, not fame and profit. But peace does not come from outside. It comes from knowing how to live with a mind that has understanding, has compassion. A mind like that brings peace wherever it goes. A person living in a compassionate mind, their words will be gentle, eyes will be deep, gestures will be deliberate, and their presence will be like a cool breeze blowing through others' minds. In truth, everyone has that ability. It is just that we are swept into life too fast, so we forget. Every day just need to spend a few minutes sitting still, calming the mind, reading a passage of sutra, listening to a Dharma talk, or simply following the breath in and out mindfully. That is returning to oneself. A mind watered by mindfulness will gradually no longer be dragged by external disturbances. People often ask why I have chanted sutras, listened to Dharma, chanted Buddha's name, but life is still suffering. Perhaps because we only practice with the mouth but haven't brought the Dharma into life. Just like a person having a precious prescription but refusing to take the medicine or taking it one day and skipping a few. Dharma is good medicine, but for medicine to take effect, it needs persistence, correct method, and a respectful mind. One word, respect, in Buddhism can change a whole human life, because when a respectful mind arises, all dharmas are present. A respectful mind makes us learn Dharma like a thirsty person seeking water, listening to Dharma not to argue, but to apply, chanting sutras not for quantity, but for the mind to understand, chanting Buddha's name not to count merits, but for every Buddha name to soak into the mind, washing away defilements. An old mother who could not read, but every night fingered her beads and chanted Buddha's name. When asked, she just smiled and said, "I don't know much theory, but every time I chant Buddha, my mind is very peaceful. I think of Buddha, my heart naturally feels light." That mother did not explain with lofty words, but that simple and sincere mind might create greater blessings than thousands of sutra pages read by others without mindfulness. Buddhist Dharma is like that. No need to be fancy, just need to be genuine. No need for polished words, just need a sincere mind. No need to show off outside, just need the mind inside to truly transform. A person practicing correctly, then walking, standing, lying, sitting, or all the way down, speaking, laughing, silence, all contain Dharma. And every day passing is not just adding a day of living, but adding a day of practice. Not everyone is born with ready blessings, but everyone can resow a good seed for blessings to start sprouting. And not everyone who is suffering has run out of affinity with peace. Sometimes suffering itself is the opportunity for us to stop. When life is smooth sailing, few are willing to ask the question, what do I live for? But when a storm of illness comes, or when loss strikes, people truly start looking back. So suffering also has value if we know how to use suffering as a mirror to reflect ourselves. Suffering becomes a method of practice. If we know how to develop a mind of letting go from suffering, know to change direction of life, know to return inside, then suffering is not a punishment, but the starting point of enlightenment. Some people start going to the temple after losing a loved one. Some start chanting Buddha's name after a heavy failure in business. Some realize the fragility of the body after a critical illness and develop the mind to chant sutras and transfer merit. At that time, they don't need anyone to persuade because suffering itself has awakened spirituality in them. And exactly at that moment they understand living is not only to seek, but also to let go, not only to fight, but also to do good, not only to prove, but also to learn humility, not only to live for oneself, but also to create good things for the next life, for children, for the family line. So the stream of blessings is not cut off in the middle of life. There is a very profound thing in Buddhism. Everything we do affects not only us, but also our relatives, especially children. Children inherit not only genes, but also karmic blessings from parents. A father who knows to do good, a mother who knows to chant Buddha, knows to transfer merit, lives kindly, then the children are protected by that good energy. A house with a practitioner will have light. That light is not dazzling but gentle. It makes children grow up in a harmonious atmosphere. It makes the family peaceful with fewer disasters because there is someone silently sowing blessings every day, and you don't need to do anything huge. Just every night before sleeping silently chant 10 Buddha names. Every morning, when not yet rushing to open the phone, clasped hands to thank the new day and silently vow to live kindly. Every time meeting someone unpleasant, instead of retaliating, you choose silence and forgiveness. Every time having a little extra, you think of someone more difficult than you and are willing to share. Those are all good seeds. Some ask, I live well, but why is my child still bad? But then looking closely again, they see their goodness is only appearance. The mind is still angry, words still harsh, actions still calculating, thoughts still competitive. But children do not learn from words spoken. They absorb the energy radiated. Angry energy will create hot air in the house. Greedy energy will make the house needy. Gentle energy will make everyone feel easy to breathe. So if truly wanting to transform children, start with oneself. Mother's mind at peace, house will be at peace. Father's mind correct, family way will be correct. A lay practitioner doesn't need to move mountains and fill seas. Just moving one thought of greed changes the stream of karma. Just filling one gap of anger and help the family avoid a storm. There are children growing up in houses not rich, but their hearts are full of love. And there are children growing up amidst material abundance, but minds are desolate and lack direction. That does not lie in money, but in blessings. And the greatest blessing is not having much, but knowing enough, knowing gratitude, knowing to live kindly. Any father or mother nurturing these three things in every meal, every conversation, every small task in the house is silently building a foundation of blessings for their children's lives. Life having aspects of wealth or poverty, sadness, or joy is just patches of color on a large painting. To the deluded, rich is happy, poor is unhappy. But to the awakened, poor is also normal, rich won't be kept long either. All are dreams, fleeting phenomena. When we still run after external things, used to living according to emotions of joy and sadness, according to right and wrong, according to achieving or not achieving, we are living in a dream, a very long, very enchanting dream, in which we are the ones passionately playing the main role. We hate, we rejoice, we desire, we fear as if we exist permanently, along with all those emotions. As for the awakened, they stop, they silently look at every joy, anger, love, and hate of life like a passerby. They clearly see wealth doesn't elevate them. Poverty doesn't erase their name. Sadness or joy doesn't make anyone lose anything. Seeing so, they are light, and every day they live with a bit of empathy, a bit of understanding for themselves, for life, because all is just a dream. Throughout a life, if we keep a clear mind, keep a heart not swept away by having and not having, gain and loss, we are following the Buddha's teaching, dwelling in mindfulness, not pushed by the world, but not separated from ordinary life. A person like that is at peace amidst shaking. In the eyes of the awakened, everything, no matter how sparkling, is just a phenomenon of a drifting dream. Fame, power, money, love, thinking we can keep them forever, but ultimately just smoke and clouds in the sky. Being there but not real, seeing there but unable to touch the essence, just grasp and it falls, just smiled and separated, dreams only. And what makes people suffer is not because of not having, but because of thinking what they have is real. The more thinking it's real, the more clinging. The more clinging, the more insecure. The more insecure, the easier to create karma from thoughts of wanting to keep to actions of fighting to words of competition. Just like that, a dream pulls along a new cycle of drifting. The deluded don't see. The awakened turn their heads. The deluded only stare ahead, hoping to be better than others. The awakened know to look back to see how many important things they missed in the drunken stupor of seeking vainglory. They abandon peaceful afternoons, simple but emotional meals, moments sitting beside loved ones without constraints. That is what the awakened cherish, while the deluded consider it trivial. Therefore, mindfulness is not looking for something lofty, but learning to stop and see clearly. See clearly what is worth keeping, what should be let go. See clearly what is long-lasting, what is just fleeting. See clearly what is blessing, what is karma. Seeing clearly, then let go. Letting go, then light then at peace. And also from here, the awakened start living differently, not doing just because others are doing, not running after because the world rushes to buy fame and profit. They start living slowly, speaking gentle words, doing good deeds, acting with heart. And they know all those deeds, however small, are silently transforming cause and effect. No need for anyone to see, no need to tell, because the awakened know if the seed sown is right, the fruit cannot be wrong. Thinking back, human life is no different from a hurried trip between short stops. Some arrive in halos, some arrive in darkness, but when leaving, everyone is the same, two empty hands, a thin trail of smoke dissolving into the void. No one takes along status, wealth, or unfinished stories of hatred. All once entering the cremation furnace, turned to ash alike. Yet while still breathing, humans often forget that. We rush into life as if we will live forever, trying to accumulate a lot, trying to win a lot, trying to be better than others in everything, trying to keep things that cannot be kept. And then one day, those very things are burdens dragging the soul down to the abyss. A word not to our liking, we keep in our hearts for 10 years, a small failure we hug forever like a wound refusing to heal. A bit of disadvantage we use a lifetime to find a way to claim back, while even this life cannot be held long, let alone fame, profit, resentment, and anger. Precisely because of that, there are times we need to stop, not to give up, but to understand, to see the deep truth that life is impermanent. Everything comes and goes. Everything is had and lost. The person who yesterday knelt before us today has turned their back. The person who once loved us with all their heart now perhaps doesn't even ask a word. But that is not life's fault, but life's nature. Understanding impermanence is the first step of enlightenment. And also from there the mind starts to transform, no longer clinging too deeply to people, to matters, to things not belonging to us, no longer living with the mind of having to keep at all costs, but instead is the mind of keeping if there is affinity, letting go if it is time, when having seen clearly, no matter how rich, eventually lying in an ash urn, no matter how powerful, eventually just an old newspaper article, no matter how loved, eventually becoming a memory. Then the wise will choose to live deeply, live kindly, live lightly, not running after the times, not letting the heart be pulled by the wind of competition, not using others as a measure for one's own value, but only quietly living a life with morality, with virtue, with a mindful mind, so that when leaving, the heart has no regret, eyes no entanglement, mind no attachment. No one lives forever for 100 years, but so many people still live as if they never have to leave, waking up in the morning in a hurry, noon rushing amidst earning a living, evening returning to sink in worries of competition, gain and loss. They calculate building houses for descendants of future generations, plan to expand assets for 3 generations, but forget to ask if today they have breath and mindfulness yet. They strategize investments for the next 10 years, but don't know if there is still 1 more year to breathe. Precisely because of forgetting impermanence, delusions arise. Precisely because of delusion, clinging to everything, we hope to have a body beautiful forever. But this body is of the 4 elements. If gathered, then scattered, we hope people love us forever. But human hearts are like mist and smoke, just grasp, they dissolve. We hope life only has joy, but joy and sadness inherently go together like shadow and form. The more hoping to keep things inherently meant to leave, the more suffering. So how to live to be worthy of a human life? Live so that when lying down, there is no regret. No one is happy forever without sadness. No one is young forever without aging. No one has everything without losing anything. But the one who understands the way is the one who knows that amidst this temporary realm there is one thing not subject to change. That is the mindful mind. That mind, if preserved every day, will be the boat taking us across the sea of suffering of birth and death. Some once asked, if knowing life is a dream, is suffering, is impermanent, then what is living for? But a practitioner does not live to enjoy, nor lives to run after fame. A practitioner lives to understand, to transform, and to liberate. Living a mindful life does not mean giving up everything, but giving up the mind clinging to everything, still going to work, still taking care of family, still living among worldly people, but the mind is not dragged by desires. Eyes still see forms, ears still hear sounds, but the mind is not entangled. That is happiness, a type of happiness needing no conditions, a type of happiness not arising and ceasing according to life's fluctuations. A person living in mindfulness, words also become Dharma, eyes also carry compassion. Children growing up in such an environment naturally absorb moral principles without needing too much teaching. Good seeds are sown through every meal, every conversation, every peaceful moment in the house. Because no one lives forever eternally, please remember the truth is in the mind. That very mind is the most worth preserving thing in this life. No matter what circumstance you are in, the most important thing is still keeping your mind from giving up. Because exactly difficult times, mental power is trained. No seed sprouts, if never buried in good soil. No light is as precious as the light appearing after gloomy days. Life is inherently impermanent and because of impermanence, it can change. What is currently suffering can be the starting point for happiness. What is currently lost can be the door opening to maturity. Don't think you are inferior because you are lacking today. Don't think you are useless because you are tired today. In Buddha's eyes, no one is lowly, only people who do not yet clearly understand the path they should walk. In every step of ordinary life, if knowing to live mindfully, then being poor also has happiness. In every simple meal, if there is gratitude, then cold rice and plain soup also become the flavor of joy. There are people with lots of money, but every day live in anxiety, fighting, suspicion. There are people with nothing but a small roof and an old bicycle, but every morning wake up with a relieved smile. What is enough? Enough is not a number. Enough is a state of mind. A mind knowing to stop is a mind that has enough. A mind not dragged by greed is a mind that has enough. A mind knowing to return is a mind that has enough. People live their whole lives running after money, but then when sick in bed, vow to trade all that money just to have one healthy day. Money can buy medicine, but cannot buy recovery. Money can hire caregivers, but cannot hire peace in the mind. If understanding like that, we will cherish what we have instead of forever chasing what we don't have. Likewise, a house is not a symbol of success. A house is a place to return. No need to be wide, no need to be luxurious, just needing warmth there. People knowing to love each other, a bell of mindfulness ringing every afternoon, an altar to light a stick of incense from the heart is enough. The house needs not face south or north, just needs to face inside each person's mind. Mind at peace, then house at peace. Mind chaotic, then even a high house with wide doors becomes hell. Cars are the same. Cars are means, not goals. They help us go, not help us become better than others. But many forget this. They are engrossed in buying luxury cars to prove their value. They don't know that true value lies not in the car, but in how they treat the person riding a bicycle next to them. There are people riding motorbikes, but with generous minds. There are people driving billion-dollar cars, but living pettily, competing every bit. So who is truly rich? A Zen master once said, the person with few desires is truly the person with the greatest wealth, because they are not bound by anything. Such a person is poor, but not lacking. A person living with letting go, living simply, living mindfully, then everywhere is a meditation hall. Morning opening curtains to watch clouds and sky, evening lighting an oil lamp to chant sutras. That is truly a precious life, a life money cannot buy, a life fame and profit cannot touch. So friend, living amidst life, always remember to keep your mind light. Keep your life simple. Keep every breath conscious, worrying less. Calculate less, compete less. Work diligently, help diligently, chant diligently. Live as if today is the last day, so there is nothing to regret. Because joy we often hug and hold within the arms of our own private world. That joy cannot spread to the horizon, to all living beings. Because suffering we often drive away. Driving doesn't go. Suffering rebounds to the heart. Suffering suppressed for days makes us barren. We blame life for lacking empathy. Sorrow shared, the soul soothes the storm. Joy shared, joy claps wings to thousands of directions. Heart adds suffering because we nurture defilements. Life is peaceful when living knowing to love. That joy is inherently vast as heaven and earth. That sadness is like the ocean waters. Receive joy without clinging, and sadness existing is just for play. Life has both sweet honey and bitter bough. There are days rain and sun date each other. So like a mountain, reflecting down into the quiet ring. In serenity, the boat glides between joy and sorrow. The boat reaching the bridgehead will naturally straighten. People, when reaching a dead end, will naturally have a path open up. Likewise, regardless of where we must go, that is exactly where we need to arrive. So experience what needs to be experienced. Meet people who should be met. Pine and cypress trees in deep secluded places need no one to visit, yet are green with leaves all year round. Plum trees amidst snow and cold wind need no friends, yet bloom flowers right on the occasion of spring. Everyone eventually has to overcome a period of time alone, without help, without supporters or caring inquiries. But only in that way can people resiliently overcome the storm. Regardless of who you have met, that person has to appear in your life. Everything is absolutely not random. That person comes and will bring you a lesson, a feeling, a mark. In the world, there are inherently no unfair matters, only an unfair mind. Don't blame or resent, but be calm with everything. View everything like smoke and clouds. Then you will realize that human life ultimately is just like a passing breeze, arising then vanishing, coming then going, born from dust and finally merging back into dust. Ideals are sometimes like a lamp, lit up then extinguished. Feelings are like a rain, falling down then drying up. Friends are just like a cloud layer, gathering then dispersing. Sadness and suffering are just a jar of wine. Drink drunk then sober up. A mature person knows to self-eliminate some types of items in their life's luggage, such as false friends, meaningless drinking pleasures, useless gossip stories. At the same time, they know to hold and cherish self-confidence, a kind heart, and simple humility. Sometimes silence helps people's state of mind be more comfortable than revealing and pouring out one's heart. Silence is also an expression of experienced maturity. There are people who, when facing any matter, are quiet and do not speak. When misunderstood, do not explain. When commented on, do not argue. When gossiped about, do not correct. They are silent not because of fear or cowardice, weakness, but because they want time to prove everything. When sad, no desire to chase away this sadness will also swing in impermanence. look thoroughly clearly to the very source. Joy and sadness dissolve under the source of true suckness. While this mind is inherently illusory, riding on silver waves, leisurely I return. Then there is an afternoon when sunlight fades. Joy, sadness, love, hate, those sorrows. I smile, releasing to the wind 1,000 confidences, circling in private feelings, living exhausted. Then suddenly one day I fully understand the thought of true happiness is knowing to give. Tomorrow, if the voice of impermanence calls, what can I carry with me? Then suddenly once I realize in the world everything will fade. Nothing is sure, true, and permanent, and naturally I have also grown old. I return to clouds and sky all the distant dreams of the youthful days now blurred, of nights used to living in nostalgia, abandoning the present thin and withered. I have carried a human life, a lifetime of gathering without resting, accidentally forgot the blink of an eye as a worldly dream, but lived deliriously in crying and laughing. Then suddenly one day I understand this body is not mine alone. The peace of mind with crazy hopes causing suffering, what meaning is there to be keen on? Then some early morning on the river wharf, my soul suddenly feels vast, silently listening in the deep realm of life. There is nothing but the principle of form and emptiness. In us there is both mud and lotus, both demons and angels. Do not reject the demon, nor cut off the angel. In us there is both black and white. Do not reject black to run after white, because black is the embellishment for white, because mud is the nutrient for the lotus, meaning you should never reject weaknesses or mistakes in the past, because no progress and perfection come from running away and denying the past. Everything coming to each person has its own meaning. All are gifts for maturity and perfection. So receive all with gratitude and appreciation, and then use the power of self-transformation to crush all garbage into nutrients, feeding the tree so the tree bears fragrant flowers and sweet fruits. After that, you taste for yourself the sweetness of the thought of happiness rejoicing in the heart. I choose sincerity and speak straightforward words because I understand that lies contrary to conscience are only used to temporarily deal with situations. Only sincere treatment and heartfelt words truly resolve problems at the root and leave no aftermath. I cherish gratitude and relationships not because I am subservient, but because it is not necessary to throw away the good times between us. I choose to be a kind person, not meaning I am weak, but because I understand kindness is the primal nature of humans. Men at birth are naturally good, being human. One should not choose the path of becoming an evil person. Evil people will surely have retribution. I choose to be foolish not because I am truly foolish, but because I understand that when facing misunderstanding, injustice, unfairness, one should not calculate too much. Just smile and quietly watch the human condition. Sometimes playing dumb is not truly dumb, but just wanting to give the other person one more chance. I choose to yield, not meaning I retreat, but because I understand. One moment of patience creates 9 moments of goodness. Endure a bit, then the ocean is calm and waves are quiet. Step back a bit, then see the sea wide and sky high. I choose forgiveness not because I am cowardly, but because I understand forgiveness is one of the most beautiful virtues in the world. Never wrong, I choose forgiveness for another reason, not because I do not hold my stance firm, but because I understand that matters should not be pushed to the extreme end. Life inherently has many things. Whether we want them or not, they still exist. However, when facing life, how our attitude to life is, that is the most important thing. Abundant are the ephemeral living one day. My life is also thus. Does anyone know? Yesterday's beautiful dream of becoming a millionaire, waking up laughing, still empty-handed, house, though with 100 rooms, sleep in one bed, silver and gold stored filling chests. One evil wind becomes eternal, consciousness imprisoned in lingering attachment. Though I know everyone under the heavens, how many care to give a stick of incense? Love threads, how many ties become strangers? I walk alone, karma leads the way. Impermanence one morning acts like a broom, sweeping autumn leaves, sweeping human lives. If knowing 10,000 things are floating clouds, then now hold on or let loose. At most 100 years a human life. Coming then everyone must go, live so that it is full of meaning. So when letting arms drop, the mouth smiles. Happiness is not a peak to climb to, nor a reward for those good enough, persistent enough. Happiness is simply being fully present amidst a very ordinary moment. Nothing is forever, nor does anyone walk with us the whole life. So what is truly worth keeping? What is real, is sure, is full for a soul always thirsting for peace. The answer lies in a very simple word. Let go, boom. But letting go is not throwing away, not coldly turning one's back, not covering up pain with a strong exterior. Letting go is when you no longer cling, no pull, no grasp tight things past or things not yet come. Letting go is when you stop fighting with reality, stop demanding life to be different, stop forcing others to follow your will, stop arguing with things that cannot be changed. Letting go is an awakening, a return, a deep look, clearly seeing the impermanent nature of 10,000 dharmas. At that time your mind stops resisting. Everything becomes lighter, not because you forget, but because you understand. Understand that what comes will come, what goes let it go, no forcing, no pulling, no pushing away. When you can let go of something once very heavy in the heart, you will see a space open up inside, a space wide enough for wine to blow through, for light to shine in. Exactly in that space you will realize one thing: peace has never gone far. It is just that we are not quiet enough to see. We are used to searching for happiness in conditions. Must have enough money to be happy, must be healthy to be at peace, must be loved to feel worthy. But the further you go, the more you realize life never fulfills all things as we expect. Health can decline, assets can be lost, loved ones can leave. Only one thing remains: the present. The present is what no one can take from you, unless you yourself forget it. In the present, you can see everything: birds singing outside the porch, sun shining through the window frame, warm teacup in hand, a slow, gentle breathing rhythm. Each small thing, if looked at closely, contains a whole sky of happiness. We cannot let go because the mind is still worrying, still regretting the past, fearing the future. But both past and future are illusions. What has passed cannot be touched again. What hasn't come no one can grasp. If forever running after them, your life will always be in a never-stopping vortex. Therefore, instead of searching for an ideal tomorrow, practice living fully today. A person who knows to live with the present is one who knows to cherish what they have, not because they have everything, but because they know enough. They don't need to run, don't need to prove, don't need to strain so someone loves them. Just need to return, listen, feel, and be grateful. A falling leaf does not annoy them. A rain coming does not make them impatient. A wrinkle on the face does not make them sad, because they understand all is natural, and what is natural needs no resistance, only acceptance. Some ask how to let go. The answer is do nothing. Just need to stop grasping tight. Stop retelling the old story. Stop repeating in the mind resentments, regrets, torments. Stop imagining that if only things were different, I would have been happy. Happiness needs no if only. Happiness needs you to be present. You don't need to be perfect. Don't need to be recognized by anyone. Don't need to reach any state. You just need to present truthfully and fully with the silent moment. Sit down alone, watching traffic pass on the street. Watch the sunset casting shadows on the roof. Look at your hands, then after years of labor, then breathe, then smile. There is a type of peace that comes not from everything being better, but from you no longer demanding it to be better. You accept not because of helplessness, but because of clear seeing. Clearly seeing that what comes will come, what goes let it go. What is present be grateful to live with. You can go everywhere, learn 10,000 things, meet countless people. But if you don't know to return to yourself, you are still lost. But if you can return, then right amidst ordinary life you can still be serene. Returning is not returning to an old place, but returning to a new mindset. The mindset of a person no longer blaming life, no longer resenting others, no longer running after things not possessed, but knowing to listen to oneself, knowing to love oneself, knowing to look at others with gentle eyes. From there you not only let go of your suffering, but also become a peaceful support for others. Only when we have light inside can we be a lamp shining for someone lost. Finally, happiness does not lie outside. It lies in the way we look. A mind knowing enough will see enough. A mind knowing love will see light. A mind knowing to let go will see life has never been heavy. If today you are tired, sit down. If your heart is messy, breathe slower. If you are sad, place your hand on your heart and say, I am still living, still present, and still able to love. Just that much is enough for peace to start sprouting from exactly where you are standing.